Hello. Hi, Anirudh. Good afternoon.
Hi Shruti, good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm absolutely fine. How are you?
Very good, very good.
Perfect, perfect. So, hello everyone. Hello each one of you for joining us on this Saturday morning, afternoon actually. And today we will be having a very powerful and insightful session on Excel. We all know that how important Excel sheets are for us today, and Anirudh will help us to take this journey forward. And yes, over to Anirudh. Anirudh, please tell us about yourself first, and then we understand what we learn in the session today.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Shruti. Thank you for organizing this and thank you for having me here today. About myself, well, I am by profession and qualification, I am a chartered accountant, but by nature, I am a learner and an explorer. So I love to keep
Perfect.
learning new things and exploring. And because I have been involved in finance, because I'm a CA, I have an experience of more than 15 years. So number crunching, data analysis, financial analysis is obviously bread and butter. So I have been involved with Excel for more than 20 years now, and
Wow.
it's a part of my day job. So every day, what I see is Excel. I'm really excited because it's such a phenomenal tool in a very simple package.
Absolutely.
Most of the people don't use even 5% of Excel. And compared to the earlier versions of Excel, nowadays, the kind of features we have, it's become a simply power packed, feature packed product. It can take care of almost all your data analysis and computation needs. All your day to day reporting, analysis, number crunching can be done, and it can be done very, very easily. You don't have to learn coding, you don't have to learn macros. There's so many features in Excel. So
Awesome.
I think we'll be discussing one such feature today, interactive dashboards.
Right.
So, before we dive into an Excel sheet, let's just pause for a moment and give it a thought. What is a dashboard? Why is it necessary? And who really uses a dashboard? So, the answer is that everyone uses a dashboard. What is a dashboard? If you've ever driven a car, or if you look at the driver's seat in a car, there's a small panel over there, right?
Right.
Which has the key information, the key metrics about the car. What is the RPM? What is the speed? What is the engine temperature? How much fuel do you have? All of that, which a driver must know whenever he or she is driving the car. All of that is in a little summarized form in front of the driver. That is a dashboard. Now, who else needs a dashboard? Everyone does. So when a CEO is running the company, they get dashboards on various kinds of data. It could be HR data, human resources, it could be sales data, it could be customer data, it could be how their products are doing, how it could be a project management dashboard. So how the projects are progressing, where the delays are, any kind of data that needs to be analyzed or looked at is normally presented in the form of a dashboard. If you have investments, if you have online apps to track the investment, when you open that, you see a neat little dashboard. What is the cost? What is the value? What is the realized or unrealized gain or loss? That is nothing but a dashboard. So dashboards are used every day by almost everybody. Now, the thing about dashboard is, earlier it was cumbersome to create, but now the kind of features we have in Excel, in less than 5 minutes or less than 10 minutes, you can come up with a beautiful dashboard, which is just perfect for the need, right? I think to have a look at the dashboard and to understand the concepts behind it, perhaps it will be good if at this point we now move into an Excel spreadsheet and I actually show you how things are.
Absolutely.
So
Perfect. So,
let me
share the
present my
screen.
screen. Yeah. All right. So let me know when you can see an Excel spreadsheet with a lot of data?
Yes, able to. I'm able to. If others can also respond, they are able to see the screen or not in the audience. Is the screen visible to everyone? Yes.
Can you
Okay.
please
It
respond in
says
the chat?
it's
Yes.
visible. Yes. Perfect. Perfect.
All right. So we have this fictitious data. We'll go into it. What the details are, I'll show you. But let me just briefly tell you what this is. This is fictitious data of a fictitious company which produces furnitures, and there are five types of products it has. It has a center table, a cot, a chair set, dining table, and sofa set. So these are the different categories of products, and it sells across the country. So east, west, north, south. There are different cities. What this data essentially is, let me zoom this a little for you. So we have customer ID, we have mode of sale, which is either online or it can be offline through a physical store, the month in which the sale was made, which product, which region, which city, what is the price, what is the cost, what is the profit per unit. So the margin is calculated accordingly, and then what is the quantity ordered by the customer. So each row in this data set, in this table, represents one sale. So in this particular case, the customer ordered three quantities, three pieces of a center table. This is the sales value, the cost overall, and the profit made on this sale, right? That is the simple sales data of a fictitious furniture company. Now, if you have to make sense of this data, if you want to start analyzing this data has more than, I think, 1500 or so line items. Unless you are Dr. John Nash, uh, I don't know if you've seen that movie, A Beautiful Mind, where Dr. John Nash is played by Russell Crowe. He can just look at large numbers, large sets of numbers, large volume of data, and he can just pick up complex patterns because he was a genius. Now, unfortunately, we are not Dr. John Nash. We don't have that kind of a beautiful mind. So, if we want to start making sense of this data, the first step that is required for any data analysis is some kind of summarization, because we cannot do it. We cannot retain so many numbers in our mind. So we need to summarize, and then we can start. We can maybe begin to make some sense of it, right? So that is the first step when you want to analyze any data. Let me try and summarize this data for you. I'm going to the next tab. Let me zoom this a little for you. I'm not sure if it's visible. Yeah, I think it is now. Okay. So what I've done here is I've taken the total sales data for the year and I have summarized on two criteria. The first table that you see here is just a summary on the basis of products and whether the sale was made online or in an offline shop. So this is the table that you have, the result. And now maybe I can start making some sense of this data more easily. For example, the center table seems to be generating the maximum amount of sales. You see the sales of center table is significantly higher compared to the others, particularly these ones over here, particularly, for example, cots. Next, I also summarize this data on the basis of product and region. Now, if you are a CEO, if you're looking at any business, or if you need to just analyze business, maybe you're an investor and you're analyzing some data for a target investment company. Think logically, what are the buckets or what are the categorizations in which you would like to put the data. This is all common sense and logical. If I'm the CEO of this company, I would like to know which product is generating maximum sales. I would like to know which region is contributing more towards my sales and profit, more towards my top line and bottom line, and things like that. So this is simple data categorization. You can achieve this simply by using pivot tables, or this much you can also do by simple formula like sum if formula, or things like that. So there are many tools and many functions in Excel which can help you to get to this point. But if you notice, although this data is summarized, even in this form, it is not so easy to instantly analyze, because the way our brains function, we are not hardwired to analyze numbers very easily. Better than numbers, we understand patterns. Okay, so let me take this to the next stage. At the next stage, what I will do is I will take the same numbers and give it some context. So it is the same table, this one, it is the same table that we had on the previous tab. But what I've done here is now I've converted these numbers into percentages. The moment I convert it into percentages, it is maybe a little easier to draw inference from the numbers instantly, looking at percentages, because now we have a context. Similarly, this is the same table that we had on the previous tab for east, west, north, south. I have the same data here, but this time it is in percentages. You would agree with me that it is relatively easier to look at the numbers in percentages when the numbers are big and there are too many numbers. You can look at the percentages and draw inference more easily. For example, if you see, there are some which for which uh, for example, you can clearly see that west is not doing so great over here, right? And north and south contribute more. Even in north and south, particularly sofa set and center table, they contribute quite a lot. So maybe you need to see that why is this happening? Is there some issue with the product design? Why is it selling more in one part of the country? Is it about the product design, or is it about the material used is not conducive for the weather? Those kind of insights you can start getting. Okay, so first step, we summarize. Second step, what I've done is we've added a context. We are not talking of total numbers now, we are talking of percentages or proportions. That makes it easier. Let's take this one step further. I'm going to the next tab. Now, see what I have here is, you don't need to see the numbers, so I'm not zooming in, but basically this table is the month-wise sale for each product. And the second table is the month-wise profit for each product. Now, obviously, there are too many numbers in this table. It's very difficult to analyze at one go. So I may convert them into percentages, which I have done here. Same thing, sales and profit converted into percentages. It is slightly better, but when you have so many numbers, such a big table, even analyzing numbers becomes a little difficult, even if they are in the form of percentages or they have some context. So summarize further or give it a context, but at beyond a point, even this doesn't help. So the next logical step is you visualize the data. Okay, how do you do that? Very simple. You are going to use graphs and charts for visualization. For example, this data, whether in percentages form or in total number form, the moment you look at the pie chart related to this data, you can make sense of it much more easily. This chart shows you the total sales by the product category. Immediately you can gather center table is big, chair is next big, and how much is the difference between the biggest and the smallest. Visually, we are able to do data interpretation very, very easily. That is because our brains are wired in such a way that we can process visual stimulus or visual inputs very quickly, much more quickly. In fact, our brain relies 80 to 90% on visual inputs for our day-to-day activities also, right? So the next step is we convert this into graphs and charts, right? For example, this is the sales and profit of the company on a month to month basis. The moment you see this in the form of a line chart, you immediately know, one, that the company is not growing. Two, there is definitely some problem over here because there was a sudden dip in the sales. So maybe that needs to be looked into, that needs to be drilled down, and maybe you can try and isolate what factor caused it, what happened, and how can we avoid it in future, things like that. The moment we visualize the data, we use graphs and charts, it becomes much more easy to interpret. Okay. But this also has a problem. For example, if I tell you, if you look at this chart, you are the CEO, I present this to you, your obvious question will be, what happened in August? Why did the sales dip? So then I need to perhaps go into a little more detail. Did it dip more for a particular product? Did it dip more in a particular region? What brought down the sales at a company level? So I need to drill down into this data. If I am the CEO and you give this to me, I will ask that question. You will take it back, again, redo the numbers, prepare new tables, prepare new graphs, and bring it back to me. So the first problem is there's a time lag. I asked you now, maybe I'll get the answer after half an hour, 1 hour, or maybe tomorrow, depending upon how much work is involved. Second, so I've already lost the flow of my thought. Second, if after looking at those numbers, I have two more questions in my mind, again, I revert it back to you. Again, you do the rework and you bring it to me. The problem with this chart is, even though it is communicating in a very nice manner, in a very effective manner, this chart is not dynamic. Okay, it is static, it doesn't change. I cannot, if you have worked with pivot tables, you have a data set, you can manipulate the data in any which way you want just by moving the fields around. You cannot do this in this chart because this chart is not dynamic, it is a static chart. So the answer to that is a pivot chart. Instead of using a normal chart, you can use a pivot chart. Pivot chart is as dynamic as a pivot table. On the chart itself, you can drill up or drill down, you can move things around, and you can see the impact. Okay, and you can combine several charts related to a business on one page. Just like the driver of a car, he has a panel in front of him which gives all the vital statistics related to the car. You can put all these charts on one page in one Excel file and give it to the CEO or whoever is using that information. So all the vital information is there in one page, and it is dynamic and interactive. That simply is an interactive dashboard in Excel, nothing else. It's really simple. It might sound complex if you've never dealt with it before, but that really, or that's all it is. Let me show you an example of an interactive dashboard of this same data, this same fictitious company. Let's have a look at how it works, and then we will learn what are the steps and how you can build it very easily in less than 10 minutes. All right. Do we have any questions so far?
In the audience, if anyone has any questions, they can put across in the comment box.
Yeah,
Is it
please.
clear? Are we going fine?
Please feel free to write in the comment box if you have questions, or if you want me to repeat something, if you want me to slow down, if you feel I'm too fast.
Okay, I
All
think we
right.
can continue, Anirudh.
Yes, let me show you an example of what an interactive dashboard could look like. So here, I'll wait for it to come online, and yes. So this is exactly the same data set of this fictitious furniture selling company, but now I have several graphs on one page. This graph here is a line chart which is showing you the total monthly sales. This pie chart here is showing you the proportion of the different products. How much was center table, how much was dining table, how much was sofa set, etc. This graph over here, this is showing you the breakup between how much was sold online. The dark blue is online, and the orange is sales made in their stores, so offline sales. And this graph over here, it is showing you the breakup between the different regions. So west, south, north, and east. The legend is over here. It's maybe a bit too small to read. And this little graph over here is telling you the sales according to the cities, starting from the highest. So, whichever is the highest city, that's on top, city number 10, and so on and so forth. This is giving you the sales by city. Now, why did I say that this is going to be interactive? You can drill down because this is the unique feature of an interactive dashboard. Look at the side, you have a panel over here where the various fields or the various criteria or categories are listed out. You have region, you have product, you have mode of sale, and you have month. What happens if I click on East? Did you notice that the moment I clicked on East, the graph changed a little? All of them changed at the same time. Let me remove this. See the sudden shift that happens. If I click on East, the numbers change. Why? Because these are not normal charts that are there in Excel. These are pivot charts. Pivot charts are dynamic. When we apply a filter, the charts get updated. That's all. So earlier, the charts were reflecting whatever they were reflecting, but for the entire country. Now, the same thing, but only for the eastern region of the country. So if the sales line has changed, this is now representing the sales of only East. The breakup between online, offline, that has also changed. It is only for East. The product mix only for East, and so with the cities. With one click, I have updated all the graphs and I can look at the data for East as I want to. If I want something else, for example, suppose I want to see this, but only for center table or chairs, I can just select that from here. And now the data that I'm getting is only for that particular product. I can also apply multiple filters at the same time. So I can select, for example, I want to see the sale of chair sets only in the east and north region. So I'll select chair sets over here. And from here, I will select east and north. So now the numbers that I'm seeing, the graphs that I'm seeing on the screen, they represent the sale of chair sets and only for east and north. This is the power of an interactive dashboard. So every time I want some level of detail, I want to zoom in or zoom out. I don't have to ask someone to redo the tables, redo the charts. I can interact with the charts. So that is why this is a dashboard and it is called an interactive dashboard. So I hope the basic purpose of what is data visualization, how it is used, what is an interactive dashboard, etc., all of that is clear. If there is any part that is not clear, or if you want me to repeat, I'll be happy to do so. Please feel free to write in the comments whatever your thoughts and observations are or your queries are. Do we have anything in the comments?
As such, we don't see any. There was just one query in the middle where Swapnil had asked whether we are going to cover how to create data table. So I think yes.
We are going to create an interactive dashboard like this, starting from scratch. I will show you what are the steps that are required. It's really easy, and it takes a little time to format, but the basic dashboard can be created actually in less than 10 minutes. Okay, so if there is nothing else,
Perfect.
let's get to let's start to create this table now. So I'm
Yes, I
going
think
back to the
everyone is waiting for it.
other Excel file that we have, and starting with this raw data. This is the same data that I showed you. Now, we need pivot charts, 4 or 5 pivot charts. And for that, we need to first create pivot tables. We can create pivot tables and chart at one go, but it's a little more control. It's a little easier if we go step by step. We are a little organized. Before we start, just one tip: whenever you're dealing with large data and data that needs updating all the time, every month, every week, this data might be updated. Always store the data in the form of an Excel table, not just numbers in Excel. So after you have the numbers, just keep your cursor anywhere in the Excel and press Control and T. That will convert it into an Excel table. If you do that, after that, every time there are more rows added to the table, as the months progress, you will keep adding more sales data. The range of the table automatically adjusts. And in the pivot table, you don't have to change the settings of source data. That is one advantage. If you forget to do that, you might be throwing erroneous charts on the basis of incomplete data. So always use Excel data for this kind of Excel table for this kind of reporting. Now, I'm just going to select the entire table and just insert a pivot table, but I'm just going to use the shortcut for it. I think something went wrong with the Excel. Give me a moment. Let me open the file again.
We will surely take up the questions towards the end. We'll just complete with the example and then we'll take up the questions.
Okay, I hope it's back up again. You can see that.
Yes, actually, Anirudh, people are asking if we can zoom it a bit, zoom the table a bit.
Well, okay, I'll show you the data, but there is, I'll let me create the tables. Perhaps then it makes more sense because I've already described what this data is. Okay. So I'm simply inserting an Excel pivot table right now. Okay, just give me a moment. There seems to be an issue with this file. Right. So since the file was crashing, maybe there is some issue with that. I have just created a copy of that in a new file. Is it up now?
Yes, we can see
Is
this if
the
we can zoom a
Excel is
bit.
visible?
Yes,
Okay.
it is. It
Yeah.
is.
So it is the same data that we had. I've just created a copy of that in a new file. That's all. Okay. And I'm now just inserting a pivot table. That's all. So I'm going to create a pivot table on a new sheet, and it just gives me a blank table, right? What was the first chart that we needed? We needed one that showed a line graph showing the sales on the basis of month by month sales. So I'm just going to take the sales over here, and I will take the month in the rows. Okay. I've just created a simple pivot table. This far I've done nothing. It is showing the months and the amount of sales for that particular month. Once I have done this, what I will do is I will insert a pivot chart for this particular table. Okay. And the way to do that is just select, there are multiple ways, but one simple way is just select this, keep your cursor anywhere within the pivot table, go to the insert tab, and you have the option to insert a pivot chart. Okay, click on that and pivot chart. It will ask you what type of chart you need. So we needed a line chart. I'll select a simple line chart, and we have our first pivot chart ready. Now, the thing about pivot charts that I told you, they are dynamic. You can interact with them, right? So, for example, you can select some months over here and the chart will update automatically. If you want to see how a pivot chart works, let me zoom this a little. And on the pivot table side, on the pivot table field list, let me add product to the filter category. The moment I added product to the filter category, now there is a new button on the chart itself called product. And if I click on that, I can actually select a particular product. So if I select chair set and I say OK, now this chart is showing sales only for chair sets, not for all the products. That is the power of pivot charts. Let me go back and select all. So we are back to the starting position. This is a pivot chart for showing month by month sale for all the products. But if you remember in the dashboard, I was not making my selection for individual charts. I was doing it at one place and all the charts got updated at once. I will show you how that is also done. For now, let's move on to the next chart. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of this sheet. I've just copied the sheet, or you can recreate a pivot table again on a separate sheet, even on a same sheet. Doesn't matter, but keeping it separate is just good for data hygiene, just making sure the file is organized better. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I don't need this chart. The second chart I need is product wise sales. So let me modify this pivot table. Instead of having the month over here, I will include now the product. Where is the product? Yeah, it's in the filter category. Let me move it down here. And uh, yeah, that's all I need. So what is the product and what is the sale for that particular product? Let me follow the same steps again. Select any cell within the pivot table, go to insert, click on pivot chart and select pivot chart from the drop down. This time, let me select a pie chart. Okay. So this is going to give you your second pivot chart. Then we had another pivot chart in the dashboard which showed the breakup between online and offline, right? Let's get that in now. So I'm just going to make a copy of this sheet, delete this chart on the third sheet, modify this table. Actually, we had month by month breakup of online and offline. So let's build that pivot table first. So I don't need the product. I need the month. I need the sales, and I need the mode of sales, online or offline. So I'm putting that in the column. Okay, makes sense. So now I have month by month. These are the months, and this is the online and this is the offline sale. Let me take the same step and insert a pivot chart for this. So insert pivot chart, and let me select a 100% stacked column. Click on OK. So I have the third chart also ready. Now, obviously, for all these charts, I can do everything that I could do for a normal chart. For example, in my dashboard, I had different colors. So I can obviously change the colors. Everything that you can do for a normal chart, you can also do in a pivot chart. I can just select this one, and then I can right click and edit data point. I can add data labels, modify data labels. We will do all of that step by step. But I've just shown you how we can create pivot charts. Now let's get to the point of creating that dashboard. So I'm going to insert a new tab, a blank worksheet in this file, and let me gather all the charts that I've prepared so far in one place. So I go to the first tab and I just cut this chart and bring it here and paste it. Okay, very simple. All I've done is cut the chart from the page where it was created and pasted it here. Same with the second one. Cut, bring it here and paste it. And same with the third one. Cut and bring it here and paste it. Okay. Now, I've got three charts, three pivot charts already on this one page. But there is a problem. The problem is these charts are dynamic. I can change the product over here and it'll give me what is the sales for that particular product. Okay, that is working. But if you remember in my dashboard, I don't have to change the criteria for each chart individually. I want a panel where I can select a product and all the charts will get updated at one click only. How to do that? Let me show that to you. Select any one of the charts, doesn't matter which one, any one of the charts. The moment you select a chart, let me zoom this a little for you. Okay, the moment you select a chart, new tabs are available over here, dynamic tabs related to the chart itself. So you have three tabs: pivot chart, analyze, design, and format, right? So these are pivot chart tools. They only appear when you select the pivot chart. So you go to pivot chart, analyze, and over here on this ribbon in the filter section, you will have one option called insert slicer. Even if I zoom, this ribbon does not zoom. So you will have to, that's why I'm reading it out for you. It's called insert slicer. Select that. Slicer is nothing but a filter. Okay. So when you insert slicer, the first thing Excel is going to ask you that you want to apply filter on which criteria. I want to apply a filter on the product criteria. You check product and then click OK. The moment I do that, you will see there's a panel that appears over here. You recognize this. This is similar to the panels we had in our dashboard. And from this, if I let me zoom out a little, see what happens. This is a very crucial step. So please pay attention. All I have done is I have inserted a slicer. I have inserted a filter. But when I click on center table, this chart is changing, which is fine, working perfectly. But the other charts are not changing. The purpose of having a slicer in an interactive dashboard is that when I select something, all the charts should get updated at once. And the reason for that is We have just inserted the slicer. Right now it is not connected to the other charts, so we need to connect it. And it's very simple actually. If you right click, anywhere on the slicer, and then you'll get an option called report connections. Just click on that. A small dialog box will open up. This dialog box is showing you that right now in this entire Excel file, you already have three tables, three pivot tables are there. Okay. And this slicer right now is only connected to the first pivot table. What you want to do is you want to have it connected to all the pivot tables. So all that you have to do is you have to go here, pivot table number 2, just check it. Pivot table number 3, just check it. Okay, and then click OK. See what happens now. Now if I select center table, all the charts are getting updated. Can you see they are changing? When I select different items from here, all the charts are getting updated accordingly. And how this slicer works is, let me show you that also. When you click on something that gets highlighted, you can click on multiple items by holding the control key. So if I hold the control key and select these two, now both of them are selected. And when you need to remove the filters, on top of the slicer, you have this filter applied. If you just click on this, it will remove the filter. Clear so far? All that we have done is, let me just repeat the steps. We first created pivot tables for the data that we wanted. Then we inserted pivot charts for those individual pivot table. Keep in mind what kind of data it is and what kind of chart you have to use. Which kind of chart will convey the message accurately. Then the third step was we got all those charts, the three charts that we created, we got them on one page because we want to show all the charts at one place. Next step is we start applying slicers, which are nothing but filters. So you insert the slicer for any one chart, doesn't matter. Once the slicer is inserted, you link that slicer with all the charts. Simple so far? Great. Let us insert a few more slicers. We have inserted a slicer for product. Now let's insert a slicer for the region. That is important. So again, go to pivot chart analyze and insert slicer and select region. Okay. You have another slicer now for the region. Remember to link it to all the charts. So right click, report connections, and just check the other two charts. Just tick it. Okay. Now this is linked to all the three charts. If I do anything over here, all the three charts should change, and yes, they are changing. So this is working perfectly. Let's add one more slicer, maybe for the time period. You can add a timeline also, or you can add a slicer also. Both work perfectly. So again, I'm selecting this chart, go to pivot chart analyze, insert slicer. I'll say month, click on OK. Right click, report connections, exactly the same steps that I described before. And I have another slicer. Now you can play around with the slicers also. You can move them around. You can go to their properties, change the font, change the color. If you don't like the blue color, you can change the color of the buttons. There are a lot of settings. I'm not going into that much detail because that is basically nothing but formatting. I'm teaching you the basic concept here, which is very easy. As promised, in less than 10 minutes, it's possible to create an interactive dashboard. And notice that this particular slicer has a scroll bar also. Why? Because there are 12 months. It's not fitting in that much space. So it's given you a scroll bar over here. Now, your report is almost ready. You need to do a little bit of formatting. The first thing that I would do is to make it look simple and clean. Maybe I can remove these grid lines. I don't want them. In case you don't want the axis, you can get rid of that also. It's your choice. So you can just delete the axis data also. Go to each particular chart and remove all the all these filter buttons, because you'll be using the side panel for filtering. You'll not be filtering on individual charts. So click on any one of them, right click, and say hide all field buttons on chart. There's an option here, hide all field buttons on chart. Do that. See, all the buttons have gone. You probably don't need this legend also. You can get rid of this particular legend also. And maybe you can modify the title. So I will say the title is sales by month or something like that, whatever suits you. Okay, let's do the same steps for this. Let's remove all the buttons, or see, these are the buttons that I don't need because I'll be filtering using the slicers. So right click, hide all field buttons on chart. Let me zoom out again. And for this, maybe I can leave the legend. I don't mind the legend being there. I'll then bring this chart here, perform the same steps, remove, hide all field buttons. Now, see, for the pie chart, I would suggest this legend is taking up too much space and it's distorting the chart a little. I'll remove the legend. I'll definitely change the name. So I will call it sales by product. But I do need to know what this colors mean. Blue is representing what, orange is representing what. So perhaps what I can do is I can add data label. That will make it a little more meaningful, right? That is very simple. When you click on the chart, this is like a normal Excel chart, how you add data labels, how you edit them, exactly the same process. So I click this chart and there is this small little plus sign on the side. I click on that and I select data label. Now the data labels appear, but I don't like how they appear. I'm going to edit those. Okay. I select the data label, right click and format data label. Okay. Now, what I want in the data label, perhaps I want to know the category name. So I will select category name. I don't want to see the values. We discussed about it, right? Earlier, percentages are better than absolute values. So instead of value, I'll uncheck value and I'll check percentage. And the last thing I need to see is, where do I need this? Do I need this inside the pie chart or maybe outside? What will look better? Maybe I think outside would be a little better. Okay. And that pie chart is done. So I know there were more charts in the dashboard that I showed you, but what I'm showing you for one chart or two charts, you can have 10 charts also. The process is it's exactly the same process. Now you can modify the colors, you can do the formatting that you want. Some of the things you should definitely do is maybe insert a row over here and put some color in this row and add a title, maybe something like monthly dashboard. Let me change the font color for that, increase the size a little, and you can add more details. You can take off the grid lines. When you're preparing a dashboard, visually it is far more appealing when the grid lines are not there. So go to the view tab and uncheck grid lines. Now suddenly it starts, the moment you take off the grid line, it starts looking like something else. You can just move them around, arrange them the way you want them, add more charts that you need, and resize them if required. Maybe this can be a little smaller, this can be a little bigger, this can go up a little, and I don't need to see the grid lines, it is a distraction. maybe I can also, this is percentages, so visually I know what it is. I don't really need the x-axis, so I can remove that as well and just align it a little. Maybe add a little data or a little small column over column chart over here as well to show something else, maybe show profit. And that is how an interactive dashboard is created. Formatting may take some time, but essentially creating the dashboard itself, you can do it if you know, if you already know what is the data that you want to present. Creating this will take less than 5 minutes, or definitely less than 10 minutes actually. Because what are the steps? Create a pivot table, insert a pivot chart, paste the pivot chart on the dashboard, insert a slicer, and just add all the connections, connect it to all the charts. It's not really a very complicated process, or it's not really a rocket science. Yes, then you may spend time formatting it. That's another issue. So now if I go to updating all the colors and everything, that might take a little time, but that is something that you already know. uh, so this is a perfectly working dashboard. Maybe you can do a few more things, like you can take off the borders. The borders are visible right now, so it looks like boxes. If you don't want that, just remove the outline from the chart. And this is how it works. So whatever you select now, all the charts are getting updated at once for whatever your filters that you apply. That is what a dashboard, that this is how a dashboard is made. And I hope you found it really easy. And I'm sure you'll agree that this can be done in less than 10 minutes. If you have questions, or you want me to repeat some parts that are not clear, please write in the chat, in the comment, on the live chat.
So, Anirudh, before we take up the questions, I would just like to inform everyone that you also have an Excel course listed with us on our platform. And I would quickly like to share my screen and let everyone know that how they can access it. Also, we have 50% off just for today, because you are taking a session with us on this today. So, we're keeping it at 50% off, which is valid for today itself. So I'm just quickly sharing my screen, and for that I'm removing your screen share. Will that be okay, Anirudh?
Yes, sure, please
Yeah,
go ahead.
perfect, perfect. So I'll just quickly share my screen. Thank you everyone for staying with us. We will surely take up the questions. Before that, I will show you where can you find the course of Anirudh. And if you see, this is the website of elearnmarkets.com. You need to go to the self-paced courses section, which you will find under the courses section itself on the homepage of Elearn Markets. From there, if you see that there are a lot of categories mentioned here. So you will get a lot of categories around financial markets, fundamental, technical analysis, etc. Click on Excel and MS Office. Once you click here, you will find Anirudh's Excel course listed here. And from here, you will be able to see all the details of more topics that he has shared in his course. If you go to the outline, you will get a snapshot of all the topics that he has shared with us. And it's quite extensive, so you'll get a lot of information. What we just understood was just a part of what he teaches on the platform. Click on the enroll now, and then you will be able to take up the course. Okay, so I'll just quickly take a minute and inform everyone that Elearn Markets has recently updated their application, Elearn Markets app, which is now available. It's Elearn Markets app version 4.4, so you can easily download it from the Play Store. So it's absolutely a new version, and I'm sure you're going to love it. So yes, now we can take up the questions.
Shruti, before we take the questions, maybe I'd just like to add a little over here. So
Sure.
if you see how we've approached this session, it's not just a step-by-step tutorial on how to make a dashboard. That is, you can get it anywhere. You can Google it as well. But when we are teaching courses on eLearn Market, our whole approach is understanding the philosophy, the concept, the practical application also. So how are you going to apply? Where are the steps where you need to, where you need to be a little more cautious, where you could fail, or in spite of knowing how to create a dashboard, not come up with a good dashboard. And that is the approach we have taken in the course. The course is designed for anyone who has zero knowledge of Excel. So it starts from the very basic, goes up to very advanced level, and at every step there is a lot of practical. So there is a lot of emphasis on practical application. Actually, it's not just a step by step how to do guide, uh, and I
Agreed.
think that is something that is very useful for the users.
Absolutely. Yes. So can we go to the questions, Anirudh, now?
Yes, please.
Okay. So there's one question by Sri Krishan that can you share the raw Excel sheet so that we can try out ourselves? I think we have that in our course, right?
Yes, it's definitely available in the course. I don't know if we can do it here.
I think Shri Krishan, to access the Excel, you can definitely take up the course, and from there you will be able to easily access. You will be able to download as well. And we'll go to the next question where we are being asked that can we take data from NSC website and use it for trading?
Yes, yes, why not? So, like I said, uh, now Excel is very, very power packed and very, very feature packed. So you can get data from external sources also. You can make the data in a way that it refreshes automatically. But honestly, if you want it for trading, the kind of information that you want tick by tick, I don't think that kind of data is really available on real time basis on the NSC website. If you're doing real trading, you need tick by tick data, right? That I don't think is available on the NSC website free of charge, right? So it's perhaps better to rely on some software. But if you open a platform, if you open your account with any trading platform, they will give you that data anyways. I hope I answered that question. You may not get sufficient data from the website for trading, but if the data is available, yes, it is possible to create an Excel that will automatically refresh and you can use it for whatever other purposes.
Perfect. So here, I think Ashish had asked a question whether we can use this data from stockage and use it for our analysis with the shown pivot table. So can we use this for that purpose as well?
How can we get the data from stockage online platform for analysis? I think stockage, the platform does have an option to export data in Excel, right? The moment you can
Yes.
get the data in Excel, see what we did today is simply there was a table containing data in Excel, and we created a dashboard out of it. So if you can download the data from stockage platform into Excel, you can easily create dashboards for yourself. You can do all the functions that you can do in Excel, no problem at all.
Perfect. Perfect. And the next question is from Swapnil. He wants to know, can you please explain the new data addition in existing data without affecting the formatting?
Right. So allow me to share the screen and go back to the Excel file. Just is it you who's sharing it right now?
No,
It's me.
I'm not sharing. You can share.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
you can share screen.
Okay.
Yes.
Visible? Excel is visible?
Yes, it is. Is it visible to everyone in the audience also? Swapnil and others?
Okay. So, Swapnil, your question about adding more lines without affecting the formatting or without having to do any adjustment really. See, before in earlier versions, what used to happen was the concept of Excel table was not present. Any tabular data, you could create a pivot table, and then when you added more rows at the bottom, you had to update the source data, the source data in the pivot table itself. But when you have an Excel table, let me show you how this thing works. So we are in that Excel table that we used for creating the dashboard. I'm going to the end, last row, okay, and I'm just randomly copying a few rows. I'm just copying these rows and going to the end of the table and pasting them. The moment I do that, the table range automatically expands to include these new rows as well. Okay, let me undo this. See, one thing about Excel table, if you zoom, let me zoom, yes. You see the small little sign over here. This shows the end of the Excel table. Okay. And if I just copy a few rows from here, I'm just copying and pasting this data over here. And now let me scroll to the right and show you. See, the sign has moved down. This is the end of the table now. So whenever you are working with Excel tables, if you use any cell in any formula, it doesn't refer to the particular cell, it refers to the table and the column. For example, let me show you some cool features over here. Okay, suppose I want to apply a discount of 10% on sales. I want to calculate what is the discount amount. If I just write discount, it automatically recognizes that this is also a part of the table. If I just apply a formula, 10%, so is equal to this into 0.1. Simple formula, right? But look at the formula. It is not referring to the cell. It is saying in square brackets at sales. So it is referring to the column of the table. And when I press enter, the formula is applied to all the cells automatically. I don't even have to copy and paste. So Excel table has certain advantages, has certain features. When you're creating dashboards and your data is in the form of Excel table, if every month you are adding more rows at the bottom, more sales data you're getting, you are adding those rows at the bottom of the table. You don't have to again and again go to the pivot table and change the source data. You just have to refresh the pivot table, that's it. But you don't have to tinker with the source data, because there, the way the formulas work, the way the back end of Excel is, it is not referring to a certain cell, it is referring to the entire table now. That is the advantage of using Excel table. And how can you create an Excel table? Whenever you have data in a tabular format, you just go to any cell over there, any cell within the table, and press Control T. That is the shortcut. It will automatically convert into an Excel table. You can also choose, you can do everything. You can choose the formatting and all if you don't like these colors. When a table is selected, any cell, a new tab is available over here, table design. So you can pretty much format it in any way you want, whatever you want to do with it. But it has a lot of advantage. Always use Excel table for creating these kind of reports. The chances of making an error are very less. I hope that answered your question.
I think we are done with most of our questions, Anirudh, and it was
Yes.
absolutely an insightful session. Loved it actually, and I've been using it too after your session, so I'm sure that others are going to use it and will be helpful for them too. So thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was lovely. Thanks and have a nice weekend.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.